Nyika National Park is one of the notable protected areas in the northern part of Malawi. It is an ideal spot for wildlife sightseeing. Its beautiful scenery, which has left other people without words, is home to a mixture of plant and animal life, which deepens the richness and attractiveness of Malawi's wildlife haven. Among other things, the park is noted for having the highest concentration of orchid species in southern Africa. Over 200 orchid species are found on the plateau, and 6 of them are only found in Malawi and nowhere else in the world. However, the park is now under threat from invading plant species that are now conquering the grassland, the very pinnacle of wildlife safari. The notable plants driving the invasion are black wattle, blackened fern, Rubus ellipticus, and the popular yet dangerous pine trees. They are scientifically known as invasive species and pose a serious danger as they might destabilize the grassland ecosystem where both plants and animals have thrived for a long time. Environmental experts feel the park has to be defended now and are devising ways of protecting the park before it is too late.
We are making a quadrat so that we can sample plant diversity and abundance in our quadrats. So we need some baseline data before our interventions, so before we apply manual or chemical control, so to get a baseline to see what the plant biodiversity is. Then we're going to implement these interventions, and then we're going to continue monitoring after our interventions to see or to measure changes in biodiversity over time.
My name is Lilian Chimpepo, working with Environmental Affairs in the Ministry of Natural Resources, Energy and Mining. We are on Nyika Mountain here. We have a project which is dealing with how we can manage invasive alien species. Where I am standing here is the grassland, but it has been invaded with an invasive species, which is black wattle, which is surrounding me out. It's all over these trees. They are invasive. Whenever they invade an area, they take over all the area and actually have a negative impact on diversity of the species. So they compete with the native species. So the project which brings us here is trying to find out measures and strategies which can be taken into account for us to be able to eradicate the invasive species and also control new invasion of the invasive species.
We are here in a pine plantation. Pine is an invasive species. When pine was introduced, you can see that it took over. Nothing is growing underneath it, nothing is growing above it, it's just pine throughout. So what pine has done to the ecosystem is that it has made the soil less suitable for the original plants that were in Nyika to grow. Also, it has you can see when pine leaves fall, they put a carpet around it such that even any seedling of any species of plant that wants to come out cannot find the space or room. And also it puts a shade above it such that there is no sunlight for any other plant to grow.
The threat to the grassland leaves wildlife safari at a huge disadvantage if pines and wattles take over.
These invasive species, they have an impact on the tourism industry in Nyika, because the tourism mainly is concentrated at the plateau. This is where animals can be sighted. But the way these alien species are invading the plateau ecosystem, it is affecting even the number of animals because most of these alien species, they are not palatable. They are not eaten by the animals. So once they are colonizing the grassland, which is palatable to the animals, they get dispersed away. Thereby, it affects the tourism industry, because you find that maybe it takes time for you maybe to sight an animal, because it's not it has been shifted, it has been dispersed, it has been driven away in looking for maybe good pasture. So at the end of the day, you find that maybe instead of you having seeing animal close up, you have to travel long distance away from the patrol.
The importance of the park to catchment management cannot be overemphasized. According to Dr. Ann Witt, some catchments can reduce their water flow by 80% if invasive species are not managed well.
We have just realized right now that the invasive like the Pinus patula have started colonizing the riverine ecosystem. These have got a potential for sucking or affecting the flow of the water. So as you can see, when they colonize the riverine system, because these are alien, they are not indigenous to this place, they affect the ecosystem, and thereby they affect the flow through the rivers as well. We have got important rivers in this which originate in this park, from this park. We have got North Rukuru, we have got Wovwe in Karonga, we have got North Rumpi, we have got Munina, we have got Hewe River. All these rivers, they come from Nyika, and down there they are used somewhere source of hydropower, like the Wovwe, where the Genco or Eskom guys they use the river for generating their electricity. We've got rice schemes in Karonga, we've got even agriculture schemes in Hewe.
If not managed now, it will be very difficult to address the challenge, as the costs will rise exponentially.
This project is also going to have pilot activities in Mulanje Mountain Forest Reserve as well as Nyika National Park. In these two protected areas, we have highest number of endemic species that are just unique and only found in Malawi. We have highest number of abundance of biodiversity. So they are Malawi's biodiversity hotspots. That's where you get a lot of species that you cannot find anywhere else in the world. And these species are now threatened because of some of the invasive species that were introduced in those areas. Over the years, pine was introduced in both Mulanje Mountain and Nyika National Park, but they have taken over parts of the ecosystems. So we want to eradicate them or prevent their further spread in these two sites. However, when you look at the problem as it is now in both Mulanje Mountain and Nyika National Park, you find that the invasion is too great, and it cannot be, or the solutions cannot be completed under this project. We can only start or initiate the process, but we would want more co-financing, more partners to come in, more contributions, so that we are able to sustain the activities that we have initiated down. So we are hoping that there are conservation groups, non-governmental organizations, non-state actors, and partners for Malawi that can come in and continue to fund the activities of our biodiversity hotspots, so that by the end of 10 years or 20 years, we have less invasion in these protected areas or no invasion at all.
As the invasive species have no natural enemies to eat the plant or the seed, they are now focused on growth and reproduction in the park. In fact, some seeds which can be viable for 20 years for Blackwater might still be in the ground as of now. As Anne says, this is critical. It has to start by containing the spread and then removal of the dense infestations.
You see here you have the layer of cambium, okay, which is near the outer bark of the tree. What you want to do is you want to get as much of the chemical into contact with that region as you possibly can. So when you cut it, you can spray the whole region, the whole area, okay? But you can also do, this is what sometimes people do. This isn't sharp, but you cut into the tree, you make an incision, you push it back, and you spray chemical. Just cut 2 parallel bands around the tree, and so this pine tree will die.